Good evening, happy Tuesday, and welcome into the number one Group of Five college football show in the world. This is the Group of Five guys, and our mission is to be the voice for the Group of Five football programs, the voice that the mainstream sports media absolutely refuses to be. We need your help to do that. We need you to hit the follow button on all the social platforms at Group of Five guys. Go to YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you get your best podcasts. Subscribe to the channel, leave a 5-star rating and a review. Most importantly, tell your family and friends all about us. On this episode, we've got a new rendition of the proposed 14-team college football playoff. We've got a story that includes Donald Trump, Nick Saban, and a lawyer. And it involves college football, so I can't wait to talk about that. We'll talk about plenty more. Hope you enjoy the show. This is the Group of Five guys, and we are coming to you live.
I admire how much focus and energy you're putting on this part of college football.
We looked at each other, we was like, Mike, the best place to be is a Group of Five. So I'm sitting here with the Group of Five guys, right?
Troy has won, it's been a winner, and it's a special place, so it's why you want the job.
But it's a ton of fun to watch a guy go to the NFL from a Nevada or a Colorado State or a Middle Tennessee or an App State, and fans follow that kid.
It was across there. You want to have this thing packed out, have the student section packed out, giving those guys hell on the sideline. I mean, that's part of it. I mean,
win or lose, like we're winning the tailgate.
There's no better place to be developed in this country than Boise State.
Jeff, I feel like it's been a while. We did a show last week, though, did we not?
Yeah, we did. We did a draft recap show. But I know it feels like a lot going on. The Murphy family went up to Pigeon Forge, Tennessee for a baseball tournament, stayed a couple days. I'll tell you what, that's an interesting place.
I've been up there to that Gatlinburg region once or twice. Now, in college, we went once or twice. Had a little crew, just went up and got a cabin in the middle of the mountains and didn't leave the cabin. But I've heard it's interesting. Give me a synopsis on this, Jeff.
Well, I mean, the kids had a blast. They had a great time. We stayed basically downtown Pigeon Forge, at the Margaritaville, so we could walk to like the Margarita Island, all these shops. I mean, they got literally everything, that you can go do for kids. They got rides, they got all types of stuff, restaurants. So it was a great time. Don't get me wrong. There's just some interesting folks that are walking around up there. I mean, all walks of life. It's kind of like, like it's like redneck Hollywood a little bit, and it was just, I mean, I saw a goth person painted all white up there.
Really?
Her face was white. Almost like Sting from WCW was walking around with long hair. And then,
Really?
you just got a very interesting group of people. But the kids had fun. The Ripken Experience facility is phenomenal. Absolutely beautiful. It sits up on this hill, so you can see, like, over Pigeon Forge. You got the Smoky Mountains in the background. The kids are playing baseball. All the fields are modeled after, like, minor league ballparks.
Oh, that's cool.
So, yeah, I mean, great tournament, great time. Get away from the hustle and bustle of Murfreesboro anyways in daily life, but had a great trip.
How'd the boys do?
Day one was rough. They were, late night swimming at the pool, had all the distractions. But day two, we played a lot better. But yeah, that's how 9 and 10-year-olds are, man. The weekend before we won the gold bracket, top bracket championship. We go up there and, out of town, staying in a hotel, a lot of different variables, sprouts changed. So didn't play quite as well day one, so that affected,
It's like a bowl game, Jeff. I mean, you say 9 and 10-year-olds, but 19, 20, 21-year-olds, same thing.
No doubt.
You get them out there somewhere, some tourist trap, get out there swimming at the Margaritaville.
Every restaurant or store you go into, it's $100 easily, just going. But
yeah, brutal.
that's okay. That's why you work hard, right?
That's it, man. Well, we finished up the T-ball season.
There we go.
On Saturday, last game. Now, of course, it's funny, man. I don't mean this as a knock on anybody, but you can just tell who like they didn't ever play. Like even I'm not even saying anything at a high level. I'm just saying like even little league stuff. But so we had forecasted rain Thursday, Friday, Saturday, all day. It was forecasted rain, and we had planned like a couple weeks before. We would have our last game on Saturday. I'd have everybody over at the house. We got a little blow up water slide, splash pad stuff, get the hose, super soakers out, all that stuff. So that was the plan. Well, we get forecasted rain, and the moms of the team just panic, all out panic. And my wife Lauren, she's asking me, she's like, what do you want to do? And I'm like, I bet you a lot of money it won't even rain. I was like, but everybody, but it says 85% on Saturday at 1:00. That's when the game starts. And I'm like, I've been on this earth a long time, and I know a lot of things. I mean, they get it right. They get it right once a decade, and that one time, is the time nobody listens to it. But anyway, so we get closer to it. Thursday, it doesn't rain a single drop. Friday, it doesn't rain a single drop. Saturday, I get up, I get my little workout in the garage in the morning, and then, I'm doing some stuff around the house, and it's like 10:00, and it's a little cloudy, but it's not raining. Certainly not lightning or thundering. So about 10:00, I get all the stuff set up in the backyard. I get it all ready to go, connect the hoses, ready to roll. And I start getting blown up. It's like, are we playing? What are we going to do? And I'm like, first of all, I'm like, I don't make the decision if we're playing or not. The league does. The league has games that start at like 9 a.m. on a Saturday. So they're playing.
Yep.
And I was like, and it hasn't rained yet. And I was like, and then so we leave the house at like 12:15 for our game at 1. As soon as we pull out of the driveway, it starts like misting, like just a little small drizzle. And it's just like, when that happened, my phone and I was like, and they're like, it's raining. Are we still playing? And I was like, guys, rain is not the problem. And I was like, it would get canceled if it's lightning or if it has been raining all day and the field not so damn dusty out there. So anyway, we get out there and it does that pretty much for most of our game. It rain, it's T-ball, so games are 45 minutes. And then but apparently all the moms decided, as I'm on the field coaching their children, they decided to veto the party at my house. And they just scheduled it for Sunday, the following day, which it ended up being fine. But I was like, this is my house. Like, what are we doing here? Anyway, so then we do a little thing. They give out trophies and stuff like that. Participation trophies, Jeff. I'll admit it.
Sprouse.
Now it's T-ball, and I recall, like I get it.
Okay, T-ball.
But I remember getting trophies at that age just for playing.
Yeah.
Now after that, if we're not keeping score, everybody wins. You know what I mean? Once we start keeping score at the next league, no more participation trophies and ribbons and medals for showing up. But anyway, so then after the game, of course, all the kids are excited. They're like, Coach, are we coming to your house? I said, I don't know, man. Seems like your parents decided not to do it today. So we go to the house and on Saturday, and my kids have a grand old time for about 3 hours out there in the afternoon, sliding down the thing. But then, of course, Sunday, we had the whole team over, and we had a good time, and we had a really good group. And the thing that was the coolest thing was every kid, mom and dad, were very involved, and that was, there were some times, right, dad had to work or mom had to work or whatever, mom had the other kids, so it couldn't be, but almost every game, both mom and dad were there at the party at the house. Every kid that showed up, both mom and dad come. So it was cool, man. It's something that, I know our generation gets a lot of flack for parenting and things like that, but we had a great group. But I'm brainwashing these kids. They don't know it, but next year we're going to be the Marlins again and again and again and again. And they're never going to not be the Marlins. They're like, everybody. Yeah. Well, that's what I'm trying to do. All the parents, at the house on Sunday, finally figured out that they're like, did you pick the name? And I was like, yeah. And of course. And they were like, why? And I was like, what do you mean? I was like, it's my home team, man.
Yeah. That's why we're the A. That's why we're the A's at
You're the-
Barfield.
Everybody in our
Murfreesboro.
league, they want to be the Braves. Everybody wants to be the Braves.
Oh,
Everybody wants
no.
to be the White Sox because they can have the cool uniform. They do the South Side City Edition uniforms. And I'm like, I'm gonna be honest, man. Not only do I like the Marlins, especially the old school Florida Marlins, have one of the cooler color
I was
combo
gonna say they got great
logos
colors.
in the league. Now it's a little shaky. It sometimes doing a little too much Miami Vice, but
Hey, you know who
anyway,
would love that? It was my son Nico. He's all into the Miami Vice, black, pink, that blue. I mean,
we
he's
gotta
got
get him down to
shoes.
South Beach.
He's got shoes that color. He's got a necklace that
Really?
color. His batting gloves are that color. I'm like, dude, got chill.
Have you seen the new Miami, the City Connect jerseys? They just dropped like
Everybody's talking about him in the
pretty
baseball
sweet.
world. But
There'll be
guys,
1,500 screaming Marlins fans at the next game wearing them.
there ain't no doubt about it. But I do want to shout out the chat real quick. Guys, if you're on Twitter or Facebook and watching, come over to YouTube. We got a great live chat that goes back and forth. And boys, we got a special guest that is in the live chat. I'm not sure if he's still in there. He was in there a minute ago. Swag Bear Jesse Grisham was in the live chat. Scotty B's in there. Josh is in there. Joe's in there. If you're over on one of the platforms, come over to YouTube. Great back and forth throughout the show. We'll shout you guys out. Swag Bear, what's up, bro? That's been a minute.
I do have to say a funny story. And I deserve it. All the times that I corrected Swag Bear on this show, he texted me the morning, like 7 a.m. the morning after last week's show. Because I was saying, what was I saying? I was saying the Browns have Jameis Winston. They don't have Jameis Winston. They have Kenny Pickett. And I get a text at 7 a.m. It's like, LOL, Jameis Winston is not on the Browns. And I was like, damn it, who is on the Browns? And it's like Kenny Pickett. It's like, oh well. So I was wrong. I stand corrected.
Well,
Anyway,
he's not gonna let an opportunity to correct old Uncle Sprouse.
No, I know. I've been dad of this group for many years. I will take the correction. Hey, before we go any further, Jeff, too, we got to shout out Gridiron Spice Company. Swag Bear, I know you're a big barbecue guy, smoke guy, brisket guy. Get you some Gridiron Spice Company. Get you that varsity blend. I'm about out of the varsity now. I literally use it on everything.
Just had it tonight on some chicken thighs. It was phenomenal.
Yeah, and I make burgers just about every weekend. I mean, it literally is. It's so good, so good. But all their stuff's really good. You can put the other stuff, the sweet and spicy, the Cajun, and the Cajun one's got a little kick to it. So you got to definitely like that Cajun style.
Funny story about that. I popped the lid on it the other day, and I always take a whiff.
Yeah,
I mean, it about knocked me out.
Yeah, it's pretty stout, but it's really good. And then the triple option, that's your basic, salt, pepper, garlic, which if you've never cooked before, that's your lesson right now. Jeff and I'll give it to you. Put salt, pepper, and garlic on it. You'll be just fine. But check it out. Use our promo code GOFG. That's gridironspiceco.com. 10% off using our code. So you got to talk about a couple things. I saw Pat McAfee. Heather Dinich was on today. Apparently she was in the room as the college football playoff committee discussed the quote-unquote problem with the seeding, and they also discussed a 14-team expansion. So 14-team expansion and then rearranging the seeding. Now what she reported, and I'm not reading it, so correct me if I'm wrong in the chat or anything, basically that the committee is almost, they don't want to be responsible for seeding. So that's why they sort of like a model like it was where the champions get a certain spot, which first time for everything. I agree with the committee there because I don't think they should decide the seeding because there's too many variables and you're going to have bias, especially when you have, you look at the NCAA tournament this past year, when you have the athletic director or whoever of North Carolina on the committee and they're the bubble team. And, he left the room for 5 minutes while they discussed the team. I mean, come on.
Still got the payout.
Yeah, he sure did. But, 14 teams, I don't mind it. obviously we know what that is, right? That's Ole Miss and South Carolina not making it last year, or Ole Miss and Miami not making it last year. That's what they want to avoid. And without just doing a top 12 regardless of conference, you're not going to be able to avoid that if you want to include a Boise State or
Yeah.
whoever. I know we've talked about this at nauseum, Jeff, but again, okay, if South Carolina or Ole Miss or Miami got snubbed, well, Miami was worse than SMU in the ACC. So if you want to avoid the SMU blowout, but you're going to put a team that was in the same conference that finished worse, I don't understand. And same thing for the other ones, right? You want to nobody nobody brings up the fact that Tennessee got blown out worse than anybody else in the entire playoff. That's a fact. That's not an opinion. They got blown out from the kick. Before the kick, actually, they got blown out as soon as they tried to run out there with their clothes off to show how tough they were. But nobody talks about that. But again, you have that happen. You want to put two other teams from that conference in. So and then same thing. You don't like Indiana being in there, but you want another Big Ten team in. So I don't know where they can do it without putting all of them in. And that's what I think we're getting to. They're just going to have to they're going to have to do it to where, and here's what's going to happen next year or whenever they do this, right? 14 teams are going to make it. And the 15th team is going to be some big brand that doesn't get in. And then there's going to be a blowout one way or another. There's going to be one or two blowouts, and they're going to say, oh, see, that's who should have been the team that got in. And then we're going to have this discussion next year. Then we'll go to 16, and then we'll go to 24. And then we might actually do it right like the FCS and every other sports league in the world does. But I don't know, Jeff. I'll let you take the floor. I mean, that's kind of my initial thoughts on it.
No, I mean I'm pretty much in the same boat. There's always going to be a team that's going to be a bubble team that gets left out. That's part of it, and there's no way to completely eliminate that. And you're going to have blowouts. You have it at the FCS level. You had it last year at the highest level of college football. And let me just break it down. I don't think if you add Ole Miss and Miami into that, I think you end up with Ohio State still as the national championship. So I think it's important to keep the winning your conference as a reward, not just getting in. I think it deserves a higher seed. That's just my opinion. I think you shouldn't take that away from teams. I think your conference is super important. It's I don't want to take emphasis away from winning your conference. And I think when you don't allow them to have a top seed, it makes it not as important. It just does. And I think that deserves something, number one. Number two, it doesn't matter how many teams we get to. It doesn't matter which direction we go, as long as the committee is not in charge of who gets in. I think that's so important. There's so many conflicts of interest, not only because it's their school, but money-wise. Like there's all these things, and they already benefit as a conference already. So I think it'd be a mistake to give them complete control of what teams get in, because we're human beings. You're always like, there's biases every single day in business, in life. Let's not give these guys more power than they deserve. They've shown time and time again that they don't deserve that power because they can't stay unbiased. So I think you leave the seating the way it is. It worked out fine. The only thing that I might throw in there that might be interesting, and I don't have it all mapped out, so you'll have to work with me on this, but I'd like to see when they do the seeding or somehow to incorporate where you don't have conference on conference in the early rounds. I don't necessarily know how you would do that, but I think it'd be great, if there's a way to seed it to where you have SEC playing Big 10 and ACC playing Big 12 or whatever. Now that might be impossible without giving them more power. But the way you could organize that, I think it'd be cool to see more cross-conference matchups early on in the tournament. And then it just shakes out how it shakes out. If you get two SEC teams against each other in semifinal, then it is what it is. Oh, you're muted.
My fault. I was going to say it's going to be almost impossible to avoid that if you have 14 teams and 10 of them are from the SEC or the Big Ten. They're going to have to play each other. And, I think to your point, I think if you're Greg Sankey or, one of the commissioners, I mean, yeah, if you're Greg Sankey, you don't want the SEC teams playing themselves in the first round because you think your conference is so good that you'll end up with all, 3 of the 4 semifinalists. You know what I mean? If
But
and you
I don't
might.
think that's the case. I think last year proved that the SEC is
Well-
not as dominant as they have
Well, yeah,
been.
we've talked about that before, but it would eliminate, right? Because if I'm any conference, I mean, if I'm the Big Ten and I mean, you think you got Penn State, Ohio State, and Oregon, and you think you've got 3 really good teams, but then Ohio State gets red hot and smokes Oregon. So now one of your other teams is out. And then you get Penn State, who, makes a run, but they lose to Notre Dame. So you if you're any conference, you think, well, hopefully we can avoid each other and win. And then instead of Ohio State beating Oregon in the second round, maybe they beat them in the championship. You know what I mean? I mean, that's what they would want. Now, here's what I'll say too about the conference champions getting the higher seed. We saw all four of the bye week teams lose their first game. Now they got rewarded by getting a bye week, but they didn't get the home game. And you saw those were the teams that made the run, the teams that had that first round home game, and they all won in pretty, dominating fashion. And then they all went to the bowl game and played the team that hadn't played in freaking 3 weeks. Because I remember talking about that. I remember talking about it in November. I didn't like it. I didn't like having the bye week because you had a month off.
Yeah.
And then, I mean, you got to think Boise State plays a conference championship game, December 1st? And then they play their next game on the New Year's Eve?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, come on, man. So, again, I don't know how we
talked about moving those games up.
Well, yeah. I mean, my
it's
perfect
not
solution,
as-
like we've been talking about, is, shorten the season a little bit. Conference championship weekend is that Thanksgiving weekend. And then, bam, you're in the playoffs next week.
Yeah.
On campus. And in my opinion, I'd like to see the first 2 rounds on campus.
Agreed.
I think all that's better for football. Even these big, I saw where Clemson and Notre Dame had a little agreement today. They did some 12-year thing. If they play those games on campus, awesome. If they try to play those games in Ireland or Charlotte or, Yankee Stadium, I think that stuff's stupid. There's a few times you can do that. I think that's a good idea, right? Florida, Georgia, playing in Jacksonville. They've been doing that forever. Those kind of games, sure. But on campus, man, this is college football. It's not professional. I mean, get it on campus. And again, we saw all those home teams, cold weather, and we saw every single one of them absolutely dominate in that first round of the playoff. But who knows what they'll do. If they go to 14 teams and the committee just seeds it however they want, and there's no conference championship, regard, exactly what you're going to see. The Boise State would have been 14, maybe 13, and Arizona State would have been 14. And they'll go on the road to Ohio State or Georgia or, first round. And more than likely, they don't win that game. And then we'll be having to have the conversation about whether or not they deserved to be in because blah, blah, blah. Their schedule's not, their conference schedule is not difficult enough is what we'll hear.
Yeah. Again, I think winning your conference should be rewarded regardless of what conference you're in. And the moment you take that away, what is the point of trying to win the conference? It makes it more important of, where you're going to end up, getting seated. I just think that regional rivalries and matchups and the conference that you've been in for decades and decades, Mountain West isn't quite as old as some of the other ones, but we should not take that away. I will stand on that hill. I will die on that hill. The moment that you don't reward it is the moment that it means nothing.
Well, one more thing to that, Jeff, before we move on to the next topic here is we've seen that already a little bit, right? Because you have the team where, okay, you're ranked 9 and not playing in the conference championship, and then Team B is ranked 6 and playing in the conference championship, and they might get beat, and they get beat, and then they drop below the team that didn't even play in the conference championship. So, and so you already are seeing that. You've already had coaches come out. I'm pretty sure Lane Kiffin, I know he comes out and says a lot of things, but fairly certain it was him that came out and said, like, why would you want to play in the conference championship when you could get another bye week, you could get healthy, and if you don't play in it, you already are in. You already have the spot.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. It's an interesting thing. I don't think we'll ever be 16 teams. I mean, that's my perfect storm, right? 16 teams.
I agree.
10 conference champions or 9 conference champions, and you could do the rest at large. And I think you still would get 3 or 4 SEC and Big Ten teams in. Like, I don't understand the problem. I mean, and if they're so good, which, look, don't get me wrong, on paper they'd probably be at minimum 2, probably 3 touchdown favorites in any of these games. But if you're Ohio State, what are you worried about? Why do you want to play mighty Tennessee in the first round when you could play little old Boise State in the first round, or little old,
they don't want to go to that blue turf in December.
Little old Army, little old West Point you get to play in the first round. I don't understand the problem. You get you a nice tune-up game, because that's what you'd call it.
Yeah.
I don't know.
They don't want to see. They don't want that in December. They don't want to go to Boise, Idaho, or West Point, New York.
But even if
Buffalo,
even if
New
they didn't
York
have to.
for a MAC game.
Yeah. I think if a MAC team hosts a playoff game, they should force them to play it on a Tuesday. They should force the team from the other conference to go up there on a Monday night, play on Tuesday, and they should limit the crowd to like 8,000.
Yeah.
And just you see how you get up for that game. You see how much you love football going to Buffalo on a Tuesday in front of 2,500 people. Anyway, so we got to talk about this. So over the weekend, really, I think, well, Trump spoke at the Alabama commencement.
Yeah,
I believe. And then Nick Saban introduced him. So they must have got together at some point over that weekend. I'm sure they played golf or whatever.
Yeah,
those two guys do. And I guess Saban sort of listed his grievances with the way things stand right now with NIL and regulations and this and that. And, based on the reports we've seen, Trump agreed with him. I mean, I don't know. I have, look, I'm not going to get political at all here. I do, however, think, Trump's a smart guy, and he knows that there is a huge population of people that, number one, are going to agree with whatever Nick Saban says, and number two, see an obvious problem, and that's all over the country, right? That's not just the South. It's not just the Midwest. So I think he's smart enough to be like, I can be the one to put a stamp on this and get this entire,
Yeah.
But anyway, regardless, seems he agreed with what Saban said about some of the problems with NIL and these things. And there has been a report of a potential executive order to put some regulations on. I know you've got an article or a clip there, Jeff.
Yeah, from the Sports Business Journal. All right, it says White House officials said that President Trump's administration is considering an executive order that could increase scrutiny of the explosion in payments to college athletes. Since 2021, after Trump met with former college football coach Nick Saban. Saban talked about NIL deals with Trump, telling the president how he believed the influx of money has damaged college sports. The pending House settlement, which is supposed to get enacted in July, but yet hasn't finished. They're going back to court tomorrow, is from my understanding, to try and get it ironed out. Would allow the schools to pay athletes directly from the billions of dollars in revenue. Sources said that Trump said he agreed with Saban and would look at crafting an executive order. Sources added that Trump told aides to begin studying what an order could say. Another source said that Saban didn't propose ending NIL, but reforming it. The source added Saban described how it was causing an uneven playing field with an arms race among powerhouse schools. The NCAA declined to comment on a potential executive order, and we know, and Sprouse, you have the gentleman's name, the lawyer that's litigating.
Steve Berman.
Steve Berman is not happy with Saban or Trump getting together talking about this because...
Oh, well, Jeff, I mean, it's just he is on the moral high ground here. Let me find it and read it to you. If I can find it. Well, I can't find it, but basically, yeah,
Who
he
is
says
Steve Berman?
Well, the guy has basically made a living, and his law firm has made a living suing the NCAA, right? All the cases that have led to what we have in college football. I talked about this last week or the week before. Everybody always blames the NCAA for not having authority, but they've tried, and they get sued and lose every time. So at one point, like, what do you want them to do, right? But so Steve Berman, part of the quote was, they don't need this unmerited interference from a coach only seeking to protect the system that made him tens of millions of dollars. So, okay, he's one of these guys that gets up there and says coaches, they're making millions and millions off, the back of the players. Okay, well, I don't know how accurate this tweet is, and I accidentally screenshotted it and deleted the actual person. So my apologies for not giving credit here. But between 1, 2, 3, 4, I mean, here's what you have: COVID-19 tuition lawsuits, NCAA concussion lawsuits, the EA Sports lawsuits, the House, this thing we got going on right now. So estimate here is his firm, Hagens and Berman, accumulated approximately $373 million to $438 million in attorney fees from these lawsuits. Majority of it stemming from this one, the House versus NCAA, which is still pending final approval. So the debate here is who's made more money off the back of the players, Nick Saban or this guy, right? And I mean, look, my general in my whole life, okay, I got a couple general rules of thumb, Jeff, and typically lawyers, agents, right? I mean, you know where I'm going with this.
Yeah, no doubt.
Typically you got to keep your grass cut around these kind of folks, and so like unwarranted or unmerited advice. It's like, first of all, they're not trying to cancel, and I mean, they're not trying to get rid of it. This is like, you know what he sounds like with that quote?
Who?
He sounds like the 20% agents that when people are like, this is ridiculous, these agents shouldn't be taken, and then they come up with some excuse. Well, what about this? What about this? That's what it kind of reminds me of.
That's a very good comparison. And the gall of this guy to call out
the
Saban,
unmitigated gall.
Call out Saban about all the money he made on the back when he is making money off the backs of players. He wouldn't even have any attorney fees if he wasn't under the guise of trying to protect the players. And maybe his intentions are good. That's fine. Well, then, millions. I mean, that's millions and millions of dollars.
Hundreds of millions.
Hundreds
Jeff.
of millions. Almost
billions and billions
of dollars that this guy's making. And I'm just like, where do you come off? Right. And if there's anybody that honestly, I think genuinely wants the best for college athletes and the game of college football, and I'm not a Saban homer. I've never really been a fan. I honor him as the GOAT as far as coaches going in college football. I think the guy knows what he's talking about. I think if anybody's going to have a suggestion, maybe he's got a pretty good one. Just my guess here. I'm not going to say he doesn't have ulterior motives, but I mean, there's not really going to be anybody else more versed coming from the group of five to the power five, being successful, being one of the top coaches, and honestly, just how much his players have loved him over the years, as hard as he's been on them. I mean, I think the guy's, he should be listened to at the very least.
Well, and here's the other thing too, coming from a guy like that, because he's been raising concerns even while he was still the coach at Alabama, and they were still Alabama, and they were still winning and still dominating. And so a lot of people will say that, oh, well, once Saban found out he couldn't cheat to win like that, maybe, okay, maybe, but like, let's not pretend like Alabama's not one of the big brands that he's talking about. So if anything, he's sort of hurting his own school. You know what I mean? This is not, you've had other coaches voice their opinion. This is not Spencer Danielson saying, woe is me, we can't compete. This is the guy that's like, hey man, nobody else is going to be able to compete with us if we don't do something here. And so that's kind of my thought on it. But again, it's like, here we are talking about it. Anytime you say Trump, maybe we might have more views because of algorithms just by saying the word Trump. I know it's somehow is
that it's on the title of the episode.
Yeah, that was nice. It's a smart move by you.
I try. I'm learning. I'm a slow learner.
But I know everybody's using it for clickbait, right? But it's like Trump agreed and is having his aides maybe look at what might possibly be in the order. Like, we're not even close. I mean, maybe, I don't know. He's pretty impulsive, but
he is. But no details or anything has come out about what he specifically wants to do or what their Saban and Trump's conversation was about. So this guy's literally the only reason why he's talking trash or making a stink that they're even talking about an executive order is because if Trump comes down, he's able to do it and put something in place, which he may not even be able to do. I don't know yet, but it's going to affect his bottom dollar.
That's $375 million right there.
You better believe it. So talk about ulterior motives.
Yeah. Well, and the other part of it too is, like you just said, nothing's really come out about what they even discussed. So why are you so worried about this executive order? You're assuming it's almost, to me, I'm not the lawyer he is, but to me, it's almost admitting that you're in the wrong spot. It's kind of the way I feel about it. If you're just assuming that whatever they said is opposite of what you're saying. And so now I'm going to go, now I'm going to tweet about it or do a press conference about it or whatever he did. But I don't know, man. I remember being little and watching Mark McGuire and like Sammy Sosa go in front of Congress and all that. You remember that?
I do.
And I'm not exaggerating this. I remember being, I don't know how old we were then. I don't know when that would have been, early 2000s, maybe. Maybe look that up. But I just remember being a kid and thinking like, what does this have to do with our politicians? You look at,
I believe it was 2005-ish.
Okay. So maybe I was a little older, 15, a 90s kid.
Yeah.
So I'm 14, 15, right? And I'm watching these guys in court. And I literally remember, I'm thinking, why do our like congressmen or our senators or whoever the hell is over there, like, what does this have to do with a couple guys hitting some home runs? That's what I thought. And generally I feel like that. I feel like, man, you're the president. It's a big deal to me. I love college football, but buddy, we got a lot bigger things we got to be dealing with right now.
I agree with that.
However, I will say, I'll be glad if something gets done. I'll be glad if something gets kind of slowed down a little. But
I think all this falls at the feet of the NCAA not wanting to adapt at all over the last 10. I mean, how long they've been talking about wanting to pay athletes at this point? 2 decades? Yeah. Somewhere. I mean, could be even longer than that. So them just not even seeing anything coming down the pike, just having somewhat of a, arrogant mindset of, no, this is how it's going to be. It's not going to change. It doesn't matter how many people litigate or do lawsuits or any of this stuff. And now, they're in this spot where they're becoming obsolete. And the settlement, again, as far as I understand it, they go back to court tomorrow. What they're arguing about essentially is the roster limits, because they're cutting down the roster limits, and they're doing that, basically to save the NCAA some money. But what's going to happen if they just shift down to 105 scholarships, right, for football? You have so many scholarships that have already been promised out to kids. Do you just revoke their scholarships? Now, the House settlement has come in and basically said, well, let's phase it in over the next couple of years, and then we'll get down to that 105 number. But NCAA essentially came back, from what I understand, and said, no, we don't want to phase in. We want to go to 105. Well, so that's what they're going back and forth. I mean, I think it's 85? A done deal.
Sorry to interrupt you. Isn't it 85 they want to go to? Isn't it 105 now?
Yeah, I think it's 105 now. And yeah, I must have missed.
Sorry,
that. No, you're good. Correct me, because it's freaking confusing, and it's not going to be, it's not going to be scholarships. Maybe the scholarships would be turned into dollar amounts. So now you can take the dollar amount from the scholarship and split it up how you want. But so essentially, it's going to be a done deal. Because at this point, there's no way they can go back. July is 2 months away. Mm-hmm. So it's like something's got to get done so these college football programs can figure out, how are we going to do this? Especially at the group of 5 level, because you're talking now, you cut those scholarships down, you're not really too deep at practice. You can't practice a certain way. You get a guy that gets hurt now, tears his ACL, something happens to him, he's out for the season. You only have so many scholarships. You can't go offer that to another kid now. Or unless you're just revoke the hurt kid scholarships. That sounds like a lawsuit waiting to happen.
Steve Berman will get back involved again.
You know what I mean? So it's nuts, man. I hate it. I hate that we're at this point. But somebody's got to step in and figure this out. I don't necessarily know if it needs to be the president, but.
Well, 2 things. One of the things that I've read, and I think Saban and Trump potentially discussed, was the impact that this is all going to have on your other sports. And I did read where that was one of the things that was concerning the president, was you're going to limit the Olympic sports and the club sports. And his fear was, in turn, we'll have a less competitive Olympic roster every 4 years or whatever. So like your wrestling, your gymnastics, your sports that, that's what's going to happen with all of this. The people that are going to get hurt are not even the people that are involved with this. And then with the roster limit, the people that are going to get hurt, how difficult it's going to be for a high school kid to get a scholarship now? I mean, we're already seeing that with the portal, but now you're going to shrink the scholarships by 20. I mean, it's hard enough.
Yeah.
And now you're going to do that. And I mean, I don't know. It's, it just sucks. And I mean, you just got to wait and see what happens. That's the thing. It's nothing we can do about it.
Walk-on, Sprouse.
Buddy. I mean, that was me. What would I have done? I don't know.
Yeah, I'm with you.
But yeah, it's it'd be interesting to see what happens. What power, can they do an executive? I mean, and then
I don't know.
And then we got
to get one of these lawyers on the show. Talk about this.
Yeah, we got to get a lawyer on. I've got one in the DMs that I've got to schedule out so we can discuss. But the other part is, this is when you might see, okay, especially, I said I wasn't going to get political, but I will for a second, especially if it's an executive order by Donald Trump that typically, in general, university presidents and don't really like the guy, right? And then are you gonna have states like California say, well, in California, we're just gonna separate totally from it and do our own thing? Are you gonna see states start separating? Are you gonna see certain universities leave the NCAA? I mean, we've been talking about that anyway, a little bit. So lot could come out of this.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. Want to highlight a couple comments in the chat. Joe Judkins says non-revenue sports are going to go by the wayside. Track, soccer, golf, wrestling, on and on. And then the old swag bear said, sad how much a small percentage of players, all of college football, needing big-time money will wreck scholarships for the majority. Agree?
Well, that's the thing, too. And we talked about that when we had Pat on, the agent.
Yeah.
Was say really not that many guys are making, like, most people are not making the Shedeur Sanders money and the Carson Beck money.
Darian
Not
Mensah
even close. Money. But what'd you say?
The Darian Mensah money?
I'm so interested to see what I mean, I don't know. We'll probably never know how much he actually gets from Duke.
Yeah.
That guy's been quiet, huh? That agent? Hadn't seen him
because he was
much.
getting smoked on social
He
media.
was
He probably
just getting smoked.
He probably
dude.
just turned off his
He's
accounts.
He's probably loving Steve Berman taking all this heat on Twitter. He's taking the heat off of him.
No question.
Well, Jeff, I know we got a voicemail we got to get to, and then we'll get out of here. You guys make sure you call that hotline at 615-900-4286. Hottest takes. Give us your take on all this stuff. I mean, we got to get to the bottom of it. Give us, if you have some information, give it to us. And then also spring ball's over for everybody now. So, hey, how you feeling? How you feeling about the team going into summer now?
I mean, it's May. We are right around. I mean, it's not far off.
No, Jeff, I mean, I'm going to have a baby in a month.
Which is crazy, by the way.
Yeah, wild. And then, I mean, we're going to be July 4th. Okay. And then August, we're in camp.
Golly, hit the ground run. We got to do we got to get a summer tour under our belt.
Yeah, we got to go
hit
see
a couple schools,
places.
go see some people, do some in-person interviews with some coaches.
Yeah.
On the horizon. But let's get to our lone voicemail.
Group of five guys, Josh Bevel here. It is Wednesday afternoon in beautiful Perry, Georgia, and I just changed the tire. Had an old flat tire. I think we had this same thing about a year or two ago, and I think Sprouse or Murph, somebody said, I can't believe, young people know how to change a tire. You know what? I might be young, I'm 25, but damn it, I know how to change a tire. I've had to do it multiple times. But anyway, couple things. Georgia Southern picked up some guys in the portal in the D-line room. It's going to come out here soon. By the time y'all's next podcast comes out and this gets played, it'll be out. So we've picked up some studs, picked up some guys that damn pass the calves and glutes check. And I got a picture of one cat. I hope it comes out. Probably will, but if it doesn't, I'll send it to you guys. You got a big boy doing the splits. Pretty freaking impressive, I will say, for a guy that's 300 pounds. But anyway, John Gruden drank the Eagle Creek water. I don't know if that's safe, but it might give us good luck, damn it. But anyway, what I really wanted to ask, who's y'all's dark horse this coming season in the group of five? Obviously, you know who I'm going to say. Obviously, it's Georgia Southern. But, maybe a school like Memphis. I know they got to replace Seth Hennigan, a couple other guys. USF, I think they got a brutal schedule this year again. But, who's a dark horse that maybe no group of five fans are talking about or thinking about this year? But that's about it. Hail Southern. God bless the group of five guys.
Appreciate you, Josh.
That's, first of all, that's a credit to the fatherhood of Lenny B, teaching that young man how to change a tire.
No doubt.
Down there in Perry, Georgia. By the way, I've probably said this before. Their high school over there in Perry, I think that's Houston County High School, the Bears. I mean, it looks like a damn collegiate facility. I mean, it is fantastic. But anyway, yeah, Gruden. I got my Eagle Creek water right here, Jeff.
You gonna drink yours or what?
I don't think
I
so,
was
dude.
cracking
Like,
up. He was
like,
like,
can you see? Like, dude, look at the like algae or whatever that is floating around in there.
There's something in there.
Yeah, dude. Gruden, pretty good.
I was dying,
Did you,
dude. Gruden
did you see
is so
Gruden get the
good.
South Alabama box today, and he kept calling
No, I
him
missed-
South Florida over and over and
I missed that
over
one. Why would
again.
they post that?
I don't know. I mean, it was pretty funny. He was
Yeah.
like, "This box, South Florida Jaguars."
Gruden's money, dude. Well, it might be the best acquisition Barstool's had.
No, it is, because otherwise, Barstool, in my humble opinion, they've been sort of losing their vision or something like that. I don't know. Dark horse.
That's a tough question.
Navy. That's an early one. I don't know if that's going to be a dark horse come fall. Right now, it is.
Well,
everybody's still riding the Army train.
That
I think
schedule we
Navy's gonna
talked
be
about.
very
I
good.
remember we talked about it a couple months ago, something ago, but about their schedule when the schedules came out. Very favorable schedule, returning some key pieces. Yeah, Navy'd be a good one.
They got Blake Horvath coming back, don't they?
Yeah, they do.
I
Absolutely.
mean, Navy's schedule. I mean, VMI, UAB, at Tulsa, Rice, Air Force, at Temple, FAU at home, at North Texas. We're in November now. November 8th. So, I mean, this is what they did this year. They go at Notre Dame, November 8th. Then they get South Florida at home. Yeah, see, this is their stretch, boy. At Notre Dame, South Florida at home, at Memphis, Army. Well, at Memphis, potential conference championship, Army. I like Navy though. I think they'll be very good. I think
too.
But I don't know that they'll be a dark horse come August, September, because people will start looking at that schedule, start looking at old Phil Steele's magazine will come out here in a little bit.
Yeah.
And they'll think, I don't know. I don't know who.
It's tough, man. There's a lot of
UNLV is going to be so interesting to me.
I just
Dan
don't know
Mullen,
how
they got
to look.
They got a bunch of transfers.
Yeah.
They got that orgy kid from Michigan playing quarterback. I'm trying to just think who else. I mean, I know Josh is probably asking about the Sun Belt, but I don't think there's ever a dark horse in the Sun Belt. I think they all are. I mean, I think you'll have your favorites, which will be, James Madison.
I was gonna say that there'll be a dark horse that the Van Gogh fan won't probably think about.
Who, James Madison?
Like,
but they'll be a favorite for people that know the Sun Belt.
Well, that's
they'll
what
be
I'm
the favorite.
saying. But I think he asked kind of like that
to
was
make a run
expecting.
for the entire, like make a playoff run.
I think that's what he's asking.
Yeah, James Madison though they got a pretty good brand right now. I mean,
but again, to people who are fans of the Sun Belt, I think to the national college football,
they
view,
probably think they're an FCS program still.
They're like, the only reason why I know James Madison is because Kurt Cignetti left them. Past that, I don't think people know much of their history.
Cignetti was whining again.
I saw that.
I mean, he's not wrong.
No, he's not.
That's the thing about guys
like
that.
Essentially, I mean, he didn't post.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Okay, those schools are 40 million. What's Indiana, 30?
Yeah.
Like, come on, bro. I mean, and again, it's like you're the one that got there. You're the one that got there and promised a conference championship in year one. And look, hey,
he
delivered on almost everything. So that guy is a hell of a football coach. That's all I could say. But yeah, dude, I mean, come on, bro. You take half of James Madison's team on NIL deals, didn't you?
Yep. Sure.
So anyway, is that all we got, Jeff?
That's it. Hit the hotline, boys and girls. We want to hear from you.
How old were you when you changed your first tire?
When I changed my first tire, I believe I was in high school. I was in high school.
I don't know when I really, a lot of those things that you think are like these, these real important lessons that you learn. Like, I don't ever remember like the specific, you know what I mean? Like, I don't ever remember having like a lesson on it. I just remember like, I don't know. My dad probably had one and was like, "Get out there.
Yeah.
Here's what you do."
I used to work on our cars with my dad. Taught me how
Yeah.
to change the oil, rotate the tires, change the tire, air filter, radiator. Like we did a lot of car work.
I'll tell you this, nowadays though, half the time it's like if you don't know where the stuff is, I mean, my God, or how to like not how to get the tire, how to get the damn tools out of the thing.
Just
They're like,
just to change the battery in my Chevy Silverado, I have to take off like bars and all these things that overlap the battery. I'm like, what are we doing, guys? Come on.
yeah, it's too
There's
much
plenty of space in
making
this
it
engine
harder.
compartment. They want you to take
Yeah.
it in. Chevy
Yeah.
dealership.
And then they're going to offer you a lowball deal to trade it in and get you something new for $1,200 a month.
Yeah.
I mean,
Sounds like a
yikes.
lawyer. I've heard about.
Lawyer. I noticed 20% was his number too.
Oh, interesting. That's a magic
What a
number.
coincidence
20%.
that is, huh? Hey, look, if you like the show, make sure you hit the follow button on all the social platforms at Group of Five Guys. Go to YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you get your best podcasts. Hit the subscribe button. Hit the like button. Leave a comment. Leave a review. 5-star rating. Most importantly, tell all your family and friends about us. Listen to us at the tailgate. Make your wife or girlfriend listen to it in the car. We'll double our subscriptions right then and there if you make your wife a fan of the show. But that's all we got for you guys tonight. You guys have a fantastic Tuesday and a great rest of the week. We're out of here.